Hello dear friends, welcome back again to another video from my YouTube channel. Dear friends, in our previous video we discussed about the basics of menstrual cycle. In this video we are continuing with the same concept, menstrual cycle. We are discussing the menstrual cycle in detail in this particular video. Before we start the video, there was a question asked in the 2013 NEET question paper. I'll dictate the question, take down the question, and by the end of this video, you will come to know what will be the correct answer for this question. This is a NEET 2013 question which was asked on the menstrual cycle concept. Menstrual flow, that means blood flow. Menstrual flow occurs due to the lack of, the first option is FSH, option B oxytocin, option C vasopressin, option D progesterone. They are the four options given. I'll repeat the question. Menstrual flow occurs due to the lack of option A FSH, option B oxytocin, option C vasopressin, and option D progesterone. This question was asked in the year 2013 NEET question paper. Now you focus on this video. By the end of this video you will come to know what is the correct answer. जैसे ही आंसर पता चलता, you have to answer in the comment box given below my YouTube video. Okay, let us begin the video. Menstrual cycles are observed in the female primates. When they get sexually matured, at that time, the female primates, they exhibit the menstrual cycle. Now, after understanding the entire basic concept of the menstrual cycle, can we able to define what is the standardized definition of a menstrual cycle? Menstrual cycle means it is a cyclic change. It is a cyclic change. It is a cyclic change in female primates. In female primates per month. That means every month there is a cyclic change in the female primates. That is called as menstrual cycle. As we have discussed in the last class, menstrual cycle, they start at the puberty. Now what is puberty? Puberty means if any person is getting sexually matured, that phase of life, it is called as puberty or maturity phase, or it is also called as reproductive phase. Now the person is able to reproduce. That phase is called as reproductive phase, maturity phase, puberty. So, normally the female get puberty. Female get puberty at the age between 11 to 13 years. 11 to 13 years. This we have discussed in the previous video also, my dear friends. In our previous video, we have also discussed the two very important terminologies. The first one is menarche, and the second one is menopause. Then how we can define the menarche? The first menstrual cycle after puberty, it is called as menarche. That is at the age between 11 to 13. Here we have to understand this is an average age of puberty in case of females. Some girls, they get puberty at the age of 9. Some girls, they may get puberty at the age of 10. But the average is 11 to 13 years. Then the first menstrual cycle begins, that is called as menarche. Now, what is menopause? Menopause means at the age of 50 years, the menstrual cycle, they get suspended. They stop at the age of 50. Menstrual cycles, they stop at the age of 50. That is called as menopause. The cessation of menstrual cycles in female primates at the age of 50 years, it is called as menopause. In your NCERT, 50 years is mentioned, but again it is also variable from person to person. Some women, they come across with the menopause at the age of 45. Some women, they came across this menopause at the age of 30 also. Some women, they get suspension of their menstrual cycles at the age of 55 also. That means this figure is variable. This menopause age is variable, but the average is 50 years. Average is 50 years. In some textbooks, it is also given that after completing 350 cycles, the menstrual cycles, they stop. That is called as menopause. So, but we have to follow the NCERT definitions. That is why I have mentioned here 50 years, but it is variable. If you ask any gynecologist nowadays, they suggest you to have the baby as early as possible. Because we know during menstrual cycle, ovary releases one egg at the middle of the menstrual cycle. That is particularly on the day 14th. On the 14th day, the egg is released during the menstrual cycle. And that egg gets fertilized by the sperm and it gets developed into a baby in future. So, by looking at a present lifestyle of the human beings, by looking at the food habitat of present human beings, the gynecologists, they suggest the newly married couple to have the baby as early as possible, because now this menopause age, it comes down to 35 to 40. 35 to 40. Now majority of the modern females, they come across with this menopause. Now, after understanding these basic things, let us talk about the menstrual cycle in detail. Menstrual cycles, we know they are the cyclic changes in the females. Approximately 28 to 29 days are required. 28 to 29 days to go. Menstrual cycle will complete in 28 to 29 days. Again, my dear friends, this is also an average period. This is also an average period. That means some of the females, they complete their menstrual cycle in 30 days. Some of the females, they complete their menstrual cycle in 35 days. Some of the females, they complete their menstrual cycle in 21 days. That means again this figure is also variable, but the average is 28 to 29. The average age of menopause is 50 years and the average age of menarche is 13 years and the average age of puberty, it is roughly 11 to 13 years. They are all variable numbers, my dear friends, remember. Now coming to our main discussion, that is menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle, it brings various changes in the female body. अगर एक लड़की के अंदर menstrual cycles हो रहे हैं, इसका मतलब उसकी बॉडी के अंदर, उसकी रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम के अंदर बहुत सारे चेंजेस हो रहे हैं. अब वो क्या-क्या चेंजेस हो रहे हैं और कौन से दिनों में वो चेंजेस हो रहे हैं, on what day what change will takes place in the female reproductive system as well as in her body, that we are going to understand with the help of this table here. Now, here I have mentioned the days. Day 1, day 2, day 3, 4, 5, like that. Here we have 29 days. This is the menstrual cycle where it ends. Now after this, we have again 1, 2, it is a repeated cycle. 29 days menstrual cycle के होने के बाद again 1, 2, 3, फिर ऐसे menstrual cycle के days शुरू हो जाते हैं. तो यहाँ पे मैं day mention करे सो कौन से दिन में कौन से एरिया में क्या क्या हो रहा, कौन से फीमेल की बॉडी के सिस्टम में क्या क्या हो रहा. हियर आई हैव मेंशन uterine events. What are the events that are taking place in the uterus of the female reproductive system, particularly at the endometrium level? Endometrium, if you recall the female reproductive system, my dear friends, the uterus of a female reproductive system is consisting of three very important layers. They are called as uterine walls. The outer wall is called as perimetrium, middle wall is called as myometrium, and the inner wall of the uterus, it is called as endometrium. And this endometrium is playing a very, very important role in the entire menstrual cycle, my dear friends. That is why I have mentioned what is going to happen to the endometrium during the menstrual cycle. That we are going to discuss here. Now, in this row, we are going to discuss about the ovarian hormones. The hormones secreted by the ovary. What are the hormones secreted by the ovary? There are two very important hormones get secreted by the ovary during the menstrual cycle. The first one is estrogen. First one is estrogen. Here we are going to understand the level of estrogen day by day. On what day the estrogen level is very high? Who secretes this estrogen? Why the estrogen level has increased during the menstrual cycle? At what phase the estrogen level get decreased? At what phase the estrogen level get increased? All the things we are going to discuss here. Now, the second hormone which is secreted by the ovary, it is the progesterone. Progesterone. This is the second hormone. These two hormones levels we are going to discuss in this row. Then in this row we are going to discuss about the events that are taking place inside the ovary. ओवरी ಒಳಗಡೆ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ घटನೆಗಳು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ, ओवरी के अंदर क्या क्या चल रहा, उसको हम ये रो के अंदर पढ़ना है. Then finally we are going to discuss about the pituitary hormones. Pituitary hormones, they are also called as gonadotrophins. Pituitary gland secretes the two very important gonadotrophins. The first one is FSH. FSH we are going to discuss here, and the second one is LH. We know what is this FSH stands for. FSH means follicle stimulating hormone. LH means luteinizing hormone. We are going to discuss what is the level of FSH, what is the level of LH during the entire menstrual cycle, my dear friends. On the first day of menstrual cycle, inside the ovary, there are follicles are formed. They are the follicles. Follicles are formed. This is the primary oocyte. Surrounding to this, there are granulosa cells. We have discussed this structure in our previous videos. This is the follicle. Follicle is formed. On the first day of menstrual cycle, there are follicles. They are already there in the mature female. They are already there. Now, this progesterone level, it is at its low level. Remember, progesterone level is at its low level. Low level of progesterone, it breaks the endometrial wall. Low level of progesterone, it breaks the endometrial wall. This is the endometrial wall. We know endometrium is having ups and downs like this. Endometrial wall breaks down. Endometrial wall get ruptured due to the low level of progesterone. This is the lowest level of progesterone. Here the progesterone level is low. Up to the day 5, the progesterone level is low. Due to this low level of progesterone, I am repeating once again, From the day 1 to day 5, the progesterone level is very, very low. Due to this low level of progesterone, there is a bleeding here. There is a bleeding from day 1 to day 5. This bleeding comes out through the vagina. It is called as vaginal bleeding. Blood comes out through the vagina. It is vaginal bleeding. It is technically called as menses. Menses. And it is also called as menstrual flow. This menstrual flow, it is due to the low level of progesterone. It is due to the lowest level of progesterone. Now this low level of progesterone, it stimulates the pituitary gland. Low level of progesterone, it will perform the two very important things. It breaks the endometrial wall. This is the breaking of endometrial wall. Breaking of endometrial wall. It is endometrial wall. एंडोमेट्रियल वॉल टूट रहा, एंडोमेट्रियल वॉल बिखर रहा, एंडोमेट्रियल वॉल रप्चर हो रहा. क्यों रप्चर हो रहा? ड्यू टू दी लो लेवल ऑफ प्रोजेस्टेरॉन. प्रोजेस्टेरॉन का लेवल कम है. अभी प्रोजेस्टेरॉन कौन बना रहे? ओवरीज से बना रहे, ओवरीज बना रहे. ड्यू टू दिस द एंडोमेट्रियल वॉल ब्रेक्स एंड दिस इज द वेजाइनल ब्लीडिंग. Hence, vaginal bleeding is from day 1 to day 5. Can we call this phase as a menstrual phase? Menstrual phase. The first phase of menstrual cycle. That is from day 1 to day 5. Day 1 to day 5. Day 1 to day 5. Now, this low level of progesterone, it stimulates the pituitary. It stimulates the pituitary. As a result of that, pituitary secretes the FSH first. Pituitary secretes the FSH, and this FSH is getting increased now. FSH level is getting increased. Due to this FSH level, what is the long form of FSH? Follicle stimulating hormone. This hormone is stimulating the follicle formation. As a result of that, this follicle, it get converted into, this is follicle, it get converted into primary follicle. Now this primary follicle, it get converted into secondary follicle. It get converted into secondary follicle, where granulosa cells, they become multi-layered. Secondary follicle get converted into tertiary follicle. This is secondary follicle, and this is getting converted into tertiary follicle, where we have the cavity formation that is called as antrum. This is the cavity. This is tertiary follicle. Ultimately, this tertiary follicle, it get developed into a mature follicle, that is nothing but a Graafian follicle. This is the Graafian follicle. Very, very important. That means as the progesterone level decreases, that low level of progesterone, it stimulates the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland secretes the FSH. Due to the secretion of this FSH, follicles are getting formed. Because it is a follicle stimulating hormone, it will stimulate the follicle formation. Now this becomes the Graafian follicle. It becomes the Graafian follicle. From follicle to primary, secondary, tertiary, and ultimately the Graafian follicle is formed. Now, simultaneously, pituitary will also secrete. It will also secrete the LH. It will also secrete. Here it is getting high like this. Here it is getting like this. Throughout this follicle formation, the FSH is getting secreted. Simultaneously, pituitary will also secrete the LH also. LH is also getting secreted. LH is also getting secreted. Now, these are all follicles. These follicles, now this follicle, what is this follicle? This is primary follicle, this is secondary follicle, tertiary follicles. They secrete one more very important one more very important hormone. They secrete the estrogen. They secrete the estrogen. Estrogen gets secreted by the follicles. Primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, they secrete the estrogen. As a result of that, the estrogen level here it get increased. Estrogen level here it get increased. Who secretes this estrogen? Follicles are secreting the estrogen. But the progesterone level is still low. The progesterone level is still low. Due to this low level of progesterone only, there is a breaking of endometrium, and due to this breaking, there is a blood release here. There is a menstrual flow here. Now, I hope this much is clear. Up to this, day 5, up to this, it is the first phase. It is the first phase, that is menstrual phase or destructive phase. Now from day 5 to day 13, it is the follicular phase. It is the follicular phase. Why it is called as follicular phase? Because during this phase, follicles are formed. Follicles are formed. That is why it is called as follicular phase. On the 14th day, here I have marked the middle of the menstrual cycle with the red color line. This is the 14th day of menstrual cycle. On the 14th day, something magical will take place. What is that magical thing? From this Graafian follicle get ruptured. Graafian follicle get ruptured. Why it get ruptured? We'll come to know little later. Why it get ruptured? Graafian follicle get ruptured, and this egg, it get released out on the 14th day. Here it get released out, for example. This is the egg that is released out. It get released out. This process of releasing the egg from the Graafian follicle or from the ovary, it is called as ovulation. It is called as what? Ovulation. This is the ovulation. Release of ovum from the ovary. This is ovum. When the ovum is released from the Graafian follicle, what is left? What is left? Only the granulosa cells. Only the granulosa cells and this germ hill. If it get released here, if the egg get released out here, only this structure is left. Now this structure, it is called as carpus luteum. It is called as what? Carpus luteum. Now, before we discuss the function of the carpus luteum, let us talk about why this Graafian follicle get ruptured on the 14th day of menstrual cycle. Here in the pituitary, suddenly this LH hormone, this is the LH hormone, this LH hormone, it reaches its peak level. It go at its peak level. एकदम LH हार्मोन का लेवल क्या होता? एकदम हाई हो जाता. यहाँ देखो, slowly हाई होते जा रहा, slowly हाई होते जा रहा. अब यहाँ पे आते ही 14th day, on 14th day, suddenly it get increased. It reaches at its peak level, and simultaneously this FSH, its level is also at its peak. This peak level of LH, peak level of LH hormone, it is called as LH surge. LH surge, the maximum concentration of LH on the 14th day of menstrual cycle, or the peak level of LH on the 14th day of menstrual cycle, it is called as LH surge. Very important word for competitive exams. LH surge. What is LH surge? LH surge का मतलब क्या है? जैसे ही 14th डे आता, LH हार्मोन अपने हाईएस्ट लेवल पे चले जाता, वो हाईएस्ट लेवल को हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? LH surge बोल के बुला रहे हैं. Now, here up to this, the estrogen is synthesized by the follicles. Due to this, there is a high level of estrogen. Now, what is happening to this endometrium? Endometrium is still broken. It is still broken. Why it is broken? Why it is broken? Because of this low level of progesterone, endometrium has broken down. Endometrium got ruptured. Due to this, there is a menstrual flow here. Now, this corpus luteum is formed on the 14th day. Corpus luteum ಯಾವಾಗ ಹುಟ್ಕೊಂಡದ್ರಿ ಇದು? 14th day ಗೆ ಹುಟ್ಕೊಂಡದ್ದು ಇದು. 14th day ಗೆ egg ಅದರಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಯದ. ಈಗ कार्पस ल्यूटियम बहत जन के कंफ्यूजन आता है. बहुत सारे लोगों को कार्पस ल्यूटियम में कंफ्यूजन होता. क्या कंफ्यूजन है? ग्राफियन फॉलिकल का मतलब अगर इसके अंदर एग है तो ये स्ट्रक्चर को ग्राफियन फॉलिकल बोलेंगे. अगर इसके अंदर एग निकल के बाहर चले गया, if this egg get released out from this graphian follicle, now the remaining structure it is called as कार्पस ल्यूटियम. लुटा हुआ ग्राफियन फॉलिकल. क्या लुटाया इन्हें? एग को लुटाया. एग को अपने आप लुटा दिया, एग को बाहर धकेल दिया. So this structure is called as carpus luteum. Now this carpus luteum, it secretes an hormone. It secretes an hormone. What is that hormone? It secretes progesterone. Progesterone. Carpus luteum ಯಾವಾಗ ಹುಟ್ಕೊಂಡದ್ರಿ? 14th day of menstrual cycle. On the same day, progesterone gets secreted by the carpus luteum. As a result of this progesterone level start getting increased. Progesterone level, it is slowly getting increased. Progesterone level, it is slowly getting increased, and it is also reaching its peak level. It is also reaching its peak level, and this carpus luteum remain up to the 29th day. On the 29th day, again, this carpus luteum, it is getting degenerated. Carpus luteum is getting degenerated. अब कार्पस ल्यूटियम से प्रोजेस्टेरॉन बन रहा था. अब कार्पस ल्यूटियम नहीं है तो प्रोजेस्टेरॉन बनता क्या नहीं बनता? नहीं बन रहा. अब प्रोजेस्टेरॉन नहीं बन रहा मतलब इसका लेवल एकदम नीचे हुआ, पहले जैसा लेवल हुआ. Now, this hormone, it is very, very important, my dear friends. What is this hormone? What is this line is indicating? It is indicating progesterone. Progesterone level जब लो था तो एंडोमेट्रियम टूटा था. जैसे ही प्रोजेस्टेरॉन लेवल हाई हो रहा तो एंडोमेट्रियम टूटता के रिपेयर होता. Low level of progesterone, it breaks the endometrium. And higher level of progesterone, it repairs the endometrium. As a result of that, here the endometrium is getting repaired. Endometrium is getting repaired. Again there is a low level, and this low level of progesterone, it again breaks the endometrium. It again breaks the endometrium, and again there is a new menstrual cycle from day 1. Again there is a bleeding here. Again there is a bleeding, that is menses. Again there is a menses. But the estrogen level, it keep on getting reduced, and by the end of menstrual cycle, it is also reaching its original position. Now, this FSH and LH, pituitary hormones, LH is again, this is FSH. FSH is again getting like this, whereas LH LH reaches, again it comes down like this. So here you need to remember only some very important points. On the 14th day, egg is getting released by rupturing the Graafian follicle. Who ruptures the Graafian follicle? It is LH. That highest level of LH hormone, it is called as LH surge. Now, progesterone, it is also very important hormone secreted by the ovary. Lowest level of the progesterone breaks the endometrium and it is responsible for menses or menstrual flow. The highest level of progesterone, it repairs the endometrium. This is the normal endometrium. Again in the next month, day 1 menstrual cycle, again it is getting damaged. Again there is a blood flow here. This is the menstrual cycle in detail by looking at the various aspects. Here we have discussed this phase, this 14th day phase. Can we consider this as a ovulatory phase, third phase of the menstrual cycle? And from this 15 up to the 29, it is the luteal phase. They are the 4 very important phases. Menstrual phase from day 1 to day 5, follicular phase from day 5 to day 13, from 14 or on the day of 14 it is the ovulatory phase, from 15 to 29 it is the luteal phase where the corpus luteum is formed. Here during this phase corpus luteum is formed, that is why it is called as luteal phase. And this corpus luteum secretes the progesterone. Due to this, the progesterone level increases and the endometrium is getting repaired. That is why only in the menstrual phase there is a bleeding. In other phases we don't have any bleeding. Simultaneously we have also discussed the pituitary hormones and the level. We have also seen what is happening inside the ovary. We have also seen the hormonal level inside the ovary, and we have seen the endometrial breaking down and it is getting repaired day by day. I hope you people have got an idea. If you have any doubts, any queries, please comment me on the comment box below my YouTube video. And at the beginning, I quoted a question. I dictated a question. What was that question? Menstrual flow occurs due to the lack of FSH. The question was, menstrual flow occurs due to the lack of. First option, option A, FSH. Option B, oxytocin. Option C, vasopressin. Option D, progesterone. Answer this question in the comment box given below in my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, my dear friends.